So taking that idea of creating propulsion and getting an idea of where you're creating force and how you're moving those arms through the water, we're going to take a look at the frontal view, and we're going to look at a couple things. We're going to look at the width away from your shoulders, and we're going to look at when you change direction to start pushing water back behind you. Okay, if you think about what you're actually doing in the water, what you want to be doing is you want to be changing the direction of your palm so that you're exerting force pushing straight back. If you think back to high school physics, if you push something back, it's going to move forward. If you push something down, it's going to move up. So we want more back, less up. So we'll take a look at what's going on, and you'll get another picture of kind of how wide you are away from the body. Okay, so let's start with that left arm. You can see the left arm, as we talked about in the above view, all entering at once. It is staying above the shoulder, which is phenomenal control on your part. So congratulations on that. That's very challenging to do given the amount of momentum and swing that came into the water. So you've really been very aware of that. Now we want to take this idea of actually getting extension so that there's a line that comes in that works all along the frame of the body. Let's see if I can get that in there. And actually bring it up in the middle and then slide it over to the side. Okay. So if we have a line moving along the frame of the body, we want the whole body coming in on that line. You can see that this area in here is a little bit bent. You want to be able to get that armpit, elbow, fingertips in the same line as the hip and rib cage area. So you end up fingertips, elbow, armpit, rib cage, hip, all the way down the body, lined up on your side. And then when you start to take that first grab of the water, or the idea of the catch, the goal of the catch isn't to move it as fast as possible. The goal of the catch is to move smoothly so that your fingertips point down, your forearm points down with the fingertips, and you create a wall of water that you can push under you, very much as if you were in the deep end of the pool, putting your hands on the side and pressing yourself up out of the pool. This swim, this propulsive float, is a press up. And what we're going to see here is that hand is pushing down and out, and down and out, and down and out. And I keep repeating that because it's still going in that direction. To this point in time, you've created no backward push, so you've created no forward progress. That's a really important idea to capture, because what you've got going here is a kayak. And kayaking works great because when you're holding that kayak paddle, you've got the engine in the middle, and it's a strong engine because it's your whole body. When you're swimming, the engine that is propelling this very long lever are the small muscles of the shoulder. And they're not designed for that. What you want instead is, we'll bring in a couple more lines at this particular point. Okay. What you want instead is an elbow that is higher than the hand, and a paddle that comes down, creating a wall. We'll look at this in a couple different viewpoints. This is your angle right here, right now. A better angle would be to have your fingertips about in this position and your forearm in that position, because now what you can do is push water with your biceps and your back, straight back, under your hips, towards your toes, so that you move forward in response to that exertion of force. Okay. Right here is your exertion of force. You can actually see the chaos of the bubbles as you're looking at it. We keep pushing it through. The fingertips have just turned down, And you're trying to get a little bit of elbow bend in here, but it's very late and you're so far deep underwater that all we've got really pushing you forward is this huge kick that you've got going on. And that huge kick has to work that hard because it has to overcome all of this water, which is quite a lot of resistance to overcome. We keep that moving back. And in here, you start to get into the right position, but you've lost any grip or any catch or any connection you had with the water. And your line of force at this point is now coming back towards your body, actually sweeping you, oops, sorry about that, actually sweeping you a bit out to the side. Let's get you back centered. There you go. Okay. As we move forward a bit more, what's happening here is you've already started to lift that arm out of the water in order to get to that next stroke. Because when you're kayaking, it has to be one arm then the other, one arm then the other. And that's a very inefficient pattern of movement through the water because it's not creating propulsion and it's not capitalizing on moments of low drag. Because right here, you're pulling up, you haven't actually straightened the arm, so you're still pulling up from the shoulder, as opposed to capitalizing on the fact that your elbow bends. When we get to the side view, we'll take a look at kind of a couple things that we can target as your next pieces of motion. For right now, let's take a look at the right side. That right hand entry is still coming in all at once, but you're getting some rotation. You're moving that body line a bit so that the armpit is starting to angle down. The chest is starting to open up to the side. You want the hips to follow the armpit. You want this hip and this armpit to be moving as a unit. I know you saw us do the bird dog on deck. I know you were working incredibly hard to set it up for this incredibly high quality video. But that idea of that bird dog position lets you understand how much work it takes to maintain the length of your body in the water. And then you start to be able to feel what it takes to tip just a bit from side to side to narrow your body position and also allow you to capitalize on the alignment and the force of the push. Right, so if we keep watching that hand, we've got fingertips starting to tip down. Looks like something really good is going to happen here. And then you sweep way out to the side. So this is just slicing through the water. You can see the shape of the palm is almost knife-like. Okay, so there is zero force being created or zero propulsion being created. This hand is just trying to reduce the amount of resistance it takes to slide back as quickly as possible. The idea isn't to slide back as quickly as possible, it's to push as much water as possible underneath your body so that your body moves forward. Right? You're just sliding the arm through and getting the next arm, next arm, next arm. And it's just the repetition of those arms moving through the water and that powerful kick that you have. If we can bring this arm into that angled shape with the fingertips underneath the frame of the body or the line of the body, pushing water back straight towards your toes, equal and opposite reaction. You'll move forward much more efficiently. All right, and you can see just there it starts to push back, but look how far away from the body that is. If you tried to lift yourself out of the pool at the edge with your hands that far away, you really wouldn't be able to do it because you can't generate as much force as you need to move as efficiently as you could possibly. And that hand starts to sweep in again towards the hip, but before you get that propulsion at the back of the stroke, before you straighten the arm out and capitalize on the final 6-8 inches of straightening the arm with a nice stiff paddle, you're pulling the elbow up out of the water from the shoulder and then getting ready to fling that forward again. And you can see the width that you're having to have in resistance to the water. Your head is also looking straight forward. I think that's an artifact of the camera, but you are catching quite a bit of water here under your chin, which tells me that you could bring the water or bring your hairline, your forehead line, down just a bit. So you tip your chin a little bit more closed. And that will, again, decrease the amount of resistance and increase the alignment along your spine. So now let's take this to the side view. The side view shows incredible promise on this first stroke. You're starting to move those fingertips down. You've got a long connected line. Your head can still come down some. You're looking very much along your fingertip line. But this hand position really feels like something great is going to happen. There's going to be some great water capture. The ideal for you moving forward is going to be to take this idea and stay right along that line. So it becomes a bent elbow with the line of force coming really quite shallow in relation to where you've been, and a whole heck of a lot closer to the body in relation to where you've been. So those fingertips would come down. The line of force would become something about here, and it would be right under the side of your body, pushing straight at your hip all the way until your arm is straight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this line right here, and we're going to push through that first stroke on the right arm. Now, as you come through, you see it move away from the body. You see it swing deep. And then what you see here is all the water gets let go off that hand, and the elbow starts recovering up out of the water. Okay? You don't get any push from pretty much rib cage all the way back past those hips. There's nothing moving you forward. It's losing almost a foot of push for every single arm motion. That's a lot. You can also see something else happening here. Your head is in such a high position that in order to turn it, you're actually lifting your chin up out of the water. Having a connection right here between the side of your head and that opposite side shoulder, and using that extended arm as support for the breath, lining up the body, stacking it underneath your shoulder, and stacking that or lining that hip up in line. So one hip is also stacked on top of the other. That is going to be a smaller presentation to the front of the water. You'll be more like a salmon and less like a flounder. That's a good thing. Okay? Then the other piece is you're going to have support for that head to be able to breathe and then come rolling back down as these fingertips start to make their move towards the back. Let's take a look at that as that comes forward. So in order to support that head, that arm starts pressing down, straight, and out to the side. It's a response to the swinging arm above the water and the lifted head. And only here is it coming back in towards the body with a little bit of elbow bend. But what you see here, the elbow's behind the hand. Okay? That means you're pretty much just sweeping the arm back and not getting any push or propulsion from this lower part of the arm. If we're going to think about the angle and taking a look at it, we'll bring a little red arrow in. Okay? That elbow should be higher and in front of the hand, and that forearm should be taking a position to actually create some type of wall right here. So here, there's very little water captured. Here, there's water that can be pushed in that same yellow line that I had before. I'll bring it back in. So we can set up a line of push, or a line of force, pushing straight back, driving from the biceps and the back, and pushing all the way until that arm is straight. It's a much longer, much stronger source of propulsion for you moving forward. Okay? It also reduces the drag by having a shorter lever that you've got going on. That reduces the amount of drag that has to be overcome and lets that kick maybe even reduce or shrink down a bit, which would help with some of your energy cost and your efficiency as you're moving forward. Let's watch a moment just at full speed. You've got great speed. You've got great turnover. It's quick, it's fast. If we can bring that idea of turnover into a stroke that's got more propulsion for you, with a better, slightly stronger alignment from front end to back end, with that connection through the rotation, as if there was an axis running down the center line of your body, and the hip and we'll go hip and armpit, tipping back and forth around that center axis. You're going to have a stronger, more efficient, less resisted path through that water. And that's a really important thing for you, I think. I think that's your next steps for major gains. From the other side, what I want to do is take this minute to take a look at the alignment of the timing of the stroke. So right now you've got nothing entered on this front side. You're about halfway through the sweep on this side. Your body is not quite aligned and your feet are splitting apart in order to manage the balance of this very wide vessel up here at the front of the stroke. If we could take that line, being more patient with the front arm, spending some time actually capitalizing on a push. Right? Once you kind of get that push moving, then almost overlapping the arm, the length of this line, well, it would be longer. But if we think about things moving through the water, longer, narrow things move better than shorter, wider things. So what you've got right now is a somewhat short, wide object, wide vessel trying to push through. If you just add that line that I had in there, if you just add that spear, you become longer, you become narrower, and then if you can just rotate the body in alignment so that you have the hand, elbow, armpit, hip, all in the same line, angling down at the same time, angling up at the same time, having that unison and connection, you become a longer, narrower vessel with less resistance, less drag to overcome. And this kick becomes more propulsive. Then bringing the arms in closer to the body, it narrows the vessel. It also makes the stroke more propulsive. I realize I'm repeating those terms and those ideas a lot, but the biggest thing that I want you to leave this video with is the idea of if you bring things in closer, if you connect things from a longer fingertip to tiptoe line, if you swim through a very small box or a very narrow tunnel, and you keep those hands and fingertips underneath the frame of your body, you're going to be creating an enormous amount more propulsion and having to overcome an enormous amount of drag, an enormous amount of less drag. So those ideas and those concepts are the targets that you want to be trying to work towards. And the drills or the practice skills or the different tools that you can use are some of the ones you saw during that clinic session. It's also some of the same ones I'm sure you've been doing. It's just about thinking about them differently, thinking about the positioning differently, and thinking about the goal of the movement as creating a long line, a narrow line, and a close to the body propulsive force pushing straight back at the toes. This video quality is so high, and it is in so much thanks to you. I can't even say enough about what I had the opportunity to visualize because of the tools you set us up with. So thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate you being there and helping us out and doing everything that you did. So thank you so much. What I'm looking forward to is your next video and seeing how many refinements you were able to make and what then the next steps will be from there. My guess is there'll be even smaller refinements to be able to capitalize on. Thank you so much again, and I look forward to your questions.